Hello and welcome to Cultural Apologists React for today, September 23rd, 2024. This is an AI-generated podcast based directly on the writings of the Christian cultural apologists discussed. But like all AI, it can make mistakes. A study has found that young men are more likely to be religious than young women in the United States. According to data from the Pew Research Center, 56% of millennial men identify as Christian compared to 52% of millennial women. Young men are also more likely to attend church services and participate in faith-based activities. The study suggests that this trend may be driven by a cultural expectation for young men to be masculine and adhere to traditional values, which can manifest in religious affiliation. This shift is notable as previous generations have seen higher levels of religiosity among women. Commentary. As we navigate the tempestuous waters of modernity, we find ourselves confronting an enigmatic phenomenon: the resurgence of masculinity as a factor in religiosity among young men. This trend, at first blush, appears to be a stark reversal of the conventional wisdom that has long held sway over our cultural imagination. We have been taught to believe that traditional masculine values are relics of a bygone era, no longer relevant in an age where empathy and vulnerability are celebrated as hallmarks of true humanity. And yet, it seems that young men are increasingly drawn to Christianity, a faith that, as C.S. Lewis so eloquently put it, is the greatest thing that has happened to man since his creation, in mere Christianity. This development is all the more intriguing, given that feminism, in its tireless pursuit of justice and equality, has been working to dismantle the patriarchal edifices that have long held women back. It would seem then that young men are bucking the prevailing cultural narrative by embracing a faith that, on the surface, appears to be at odds with their own interests. But what lies beneath this seeming paradox? Is it simply a case of young men clinging to outdated notions of masculinity and religiosity, or is there something more at play here? I would suggest that the answer lies in the very notion of masculinity itself, as reimagined by Lewis's concept of the Christ-shaped man. In his work, The Abolition of Man, Lewis argued that true masculinity is not about dominance or control, but rather about responsibility and self-control. It's possible, then, that young men are drawn to Christianity because it offers them a new understanding of masculinity, one rooted in love and service, rather than the tired tropes of traditional masculine values. In this sense, their religiosity becomes an act of resistance against the prevailing cultural narratives that tell them they must be tough, aggressive, and unyielding. Furthermore, Lewis's emphasis on humility and vulnerability as core Christian virtues speaks directly to the experiences of young men today. As we've seen in recent years, traditional masculine norms are increasingly being called into question, with many young men struggling to navigate the complexities of modern masculinity. Christianity, with its message of love and service, offers them a path forward, one that is not about domination or control, but rather about compassion and empathy. And so, as we ponder this surprising trend in religiosity among young men, let us remember that it's not just about numbers or statistics. It's about the human heart. It's about the deep desire for meaning and purpose that drives us all, regardless of our background or identity. As Lewis put it, the greatest thing that has happened to man since his creation is an invitation to be transformed, to become a new creation, shaped by love and service, rather than the old certainties. In this sense, the resurgence of masculinity as a factor in religiosity among young men is not just a curiosity. It's a profound signpost pointing us toward a new era of human possibility. It suggests that we are on the cusp of a great transformation, one in which traditional masculine values will be reimagined and redeemed, rather than simply rejected or discarded. As we move forward into this uncertain future, let us remember that true masculinity is not about dominance or control. It's about love and service. And let us recall the words of Lewis: "The world is going through a period of rapid change. The old certainties are crumbling, and we are being forced to think about things in a new way." In this sense, the resurgence of masculinity as a factor in religiosity among young men is not just a statistical anomaly. It's a clarion call to us all, a reminder that we must rethink our assumptions and reimagine our values for a new era. Thank you for listening to today's episode of Cultural Apologists React. Be sure to come back tomorrow for a new take on the day's news from the standpoint of Christian cultural